Streamers box office top 10. At number 18, La Syndicaliste.
Which I thought was a very interesting film. Isabelle Huppert is the star of it. It is based on a true story, a story of which I did not know. So it's a political drama, but for me it was very much carried by Huppert, who is utterly convincing in the lead role.
Number 10 in the UK, Satyaprem Ki Katha.
So not press screen.
I got that right.
Not press screen. So if anyone's seen it, please send us an email and let us know. And same for number 9,
which is Carry On Jatta 3. Number 8, number 5 in the States, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Of all the Transformers movies, it's the second best. So it's not, it's not Bumblebee, but it's not the Michael Bays.
7 in the UK, 7 in the States is The Flash.
So this has really started to sink fairly fast. This is number 3 this is the third week, and it's number 7, and underperforming appears to be the way of the blockbusters at the moment. We'll talk about this more when we talk about Indiana Jones, but yes, it's definitely on the way down.
James in London, on the subject of The Flash. Dear Flash and The Flash. I recently listened.
It's quite scary.
I recently listened to Mark's
Gordon's alive.
Exactly. To Mark talking about The Flash, and wanted to refute his remark on being surprised that a film the size and with the budgetary scope of The Flash has some of the shonkiest VFX he has seen.
Yes, okay. Is this from a VFX artist?
It is.
Okay,
I work, it's very interesting actually.
No, fine, go ahead.
I work in a VFX and animation company in London, and without going into a Kermodian rant, because I know you like your correspondence short, thank you, I can tell you that the VFX industry is in a bit of a mess. To get work, the VFX companies bid on a project. Mm-hmm. They all try to come in under each other's bids. For the larger studios, the Marvels and DCs of the world, the bids come in a lot lower, mainly because they have more projects in their pipeline. So the VFX companies are betting on potential repeat work over a longer period of time, but accepting much less payment. This has a massive negative effect, as a team which should have, say, 10 artists working on it only have 2, meaning double or triple the workload and longer working hours with no overtime for those 2 artists, all on the same short schedule. Bad. The other issue is something which I'm going to have to refer to as pixel fudging. This is where the studio/client will request erroneous, repeated, and just stupid changes to the shots just because they don't really know what they want. Mm-hmm. Up until the last minute. This could be changing the entire third act, doing alternative versions of shots so they have a choice, or coming up with new shots because the script wasn't finished in time. Yeah. It is mental. Put these 2 problems together and you can have, quote, shonky VFX in mainstream blockbuster films. Not because the VFX company or the dedicated and talented artists are trying to do a bad job. They're just overworked, understaffed, and tired of taking their pixels in a French way. Tickety-tonk, down with the Nazis and up with Freddie Mercury, James in London. So, So whilst you're absolutely right, it looks, from our point of view, the consumer, it looks shonky. That's the explanation as to why it might be so.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. That what they're saying is that it is shonky, and the reason it is shonky is because there's too much work for too little money being asked to be done, including all that stuff. And it is absolutely true. If you're a VFX artist at the moment, you are in the most pernicious position. You're at the sharp edge of this. I mean, I don't really remember. There was a thing a few years ago when people turned their Twitter icons green, because it was in support of VFX artists who weren't able to be unionized because they're all over the place and being paid tiny amounts of money to do really, really important work for very, very expensive movies. And the turning the Twitter icon green thing was, this is what you get if you don't have VFX artists. You have just a blank screen. It is absolutely true that the VFX industry is treated really appallingly by an industry which, which eats money and yet somehow seems to want to do this stuff, in a way that doesn't reflect the artistry and the hours that are put into it. And the reason I say it about The Flash is, if you're throwing all that other money around, spend the money on allowing VFX artists to do it properly and be properly remunerated. I mean, you remember, this all goes back to Life of Pi, when Life of Pi was an Oscar-winning movie, and at exactly the same time, the VFX industry was being, threatened, because they're at the sharp edge of it. They are at the sharpest edge of, when the industry decides to turn the screws and say, who can do this cheapest and fastest? That's how it happens.
It does seem astonishing there. And we mentioned before, the last Jurassic Park movie, which suddenly looked a little bit shonky. This bit, and you're absolutely right in The Flash, where you just think, oh, really? And where it is so important, it is genuinely baffling to the cinema goer. You say, well, this is obviously going to, we know this isn't real. We know this is going to have special effects, VFX in it. You have to get, obviously you spend the money on getting the right director or the right cast, if that's what you think, Ezra Miller is. But you have to spend the money on that, because it lives or dies by the effects.
And the time. And I think the very interesting point there is the fiddling around until the last minute, changing the third act, can you just fix this? Can you just fix that? And the most astute comment there was asking for changes because they don't know what they want. And my only comparison for that is, as a journalist, the worst thing you can have, and I haven't had this for many years, is an editor who doesn't know what they want, but just keeps sending a piece back and asking you to change it because they don't know what they want. And you, as the freelance journalist, who's just getting paid the once for doing it, writes the piece 4 times, and it was fine the first time around. So no, shonky VFX are rarely the fault of the VFX artist, and almost always the fault of the studios who do not treat the VFX industry with any respect at all.
James, thank you very much indeed for the email. Correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com. Forgot the email.
It's us.
8 left. Okay, we'll just go through. Right. UK number 6, 4 in America is No Hard Feelings.
It's like it appeared in a time warp from another age when Risky Business was still in the cinemas.
5 here, 9 in the States, Asteroid City. 4 here, 6 in the States, The Little Mermaid.
Kind of quite enjoyed that.
3 in the UK, 8 in America, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Cracker.
I thought it was good fun. Do we have any emails about Ruby Gillman?
We don't.
Oh, okay. I thought it was good fun, a good sort of coming of age story that was well done, and I loved the animation.
Number 2 here, number 2 in the States, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Still terrific. Number 2 in its 5th week. Take that, The Flash.
Child 3 went to see it. He just sent me a one-word message which just said amazing or fantastic. He absolutely loved it. And number 1 here, number 1 in the States, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yeah. Simon Walkden in Finchley. I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny yesterday at the cinema. It feels like half Raiders of the Lost Ark and half Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Unfortunately, not the better halves of either of those films. But for action and knowing references, it passes the cut and shut test. Mike says, through my parents' divorce when I was a teenager, this, Indiana Jones, is the character I watched on screen more than anyone else. I didn't escape into books, I escaped into the well of the souls. I didn't go into this film wanting a rip-roaring action movie. I went in to say goodbye to an old friend and just hoping, he and I found some closure. After a fictional lifetime of leaving destruction in his wake, he was old. He was finally defeated, not by Nazis or cults, but by time, just like the rest of us. I think James Mangold did a very good job of giving the character an ending and slowly during the film shifting the balance of action to Phoebe Waller-Bridge so you could see the importance of youth. Harrison Ford deserves real credit for getting closer to the heart of the character than ever before. The final scene callback to Raiders was very well done, especially given the clear heartbreak that the character has suffered. Daniel O'Donnell, but not that one, says, Dear Henry Jones and Toby Jones, just back from a showing of the new Indiana Jones, I think, with my son, and we both absolutely loved it. Been a huge fan of the series since Raiders convinced my 10-year-old self to become an archaeologist. However, once I discovered it wasn't actually never-ending, whip-cracking, globe-trotting adventures, I soon changed my mind. This last installment was probably not necessary, even after the shambles of Crystal Skull, but it hit all the right notes of old-fashioned fun for an indie fan like me. I find it highly amusing that people, and I think Daniel might be looking at me here, that people have a problem with the third act of this movie when face-melting angels and magic cups that can cure gunshot wounds were all okay previously.
Yeah.
Mark referenced the old serials that these are based on, and these always mix preposterous, shonky mysticism with the pulp, so no one should be surprised. Anyway, love the show, Steve. Hello to Jason. Down with Nazis in disguise or otherise.
I did say when I was reviewing the film, yes, the final act is not so much FFS, but not so much WTF as OFFS. But it is true that in a series in which it's angels melting Nazis' faces, and most recently communing with space aliens in the lost city of Akatar or whatever it was, you can hardly go, well, I'm sorry, that's any more preposterous than that. Although it is utterly preposterous.
Yes. I did think it was. It was preposterousness of another scale.
Off the scale.
Altogether.
So, interestingly, although it's number one, of course, all the news reports are that, I mean, this is the headline from Deadline, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny's 82 million plus 5-day total is not far from the July the 4th disaster of Superman Returns. And so what they're all saying is, yes, it's gone in at number one, but it has underperformed in terms of what a film that's that expensive should have done. I mean, it was close to 300 million. And the general allegation being thrown around is it doesn't have enough in it for the under 40s, that they haven't done anything to attract the new audience, and that nostalgia will, we are the target audience for this film.
Okay.
And you thought it's all right. But for that,
as we mentioned before, we saw it the day after we saw Mission Impossible, which for
we'll
me
talk about in a minute.
It's a 5-star movie, and this, in comparison, was really not up to snuff. Really, I don't think. But anyway, but it's perfectly fine. It's a 3-star. I mean, It's got 2-star reviews, it's got 4-star reviews, and we're saying it's kind of in the middle.
It's in the middle. It's fine. It is exactly what it is, and I would say it's the old Indiana Jones movie. What did you expect?
Tim Gatwood Warner on our Facebook page. Indiana Jones and the film of utter tediousness. I felt every minute of its overinflated runtime. This should have been a fast-paced 90 minutes, 1950s Saturday morning serial. Instead, we get a turgid, overlong cash-in. Well, I think that's a little harsh. But anyway, once you've seen any of those movies or any of the new stuff, let us know about it. Correspondence@kermodeandmayo.com. More in a moment. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.